Hey, welcome, Fancastic listeners. We are back again with Deneen, Diaz, and Triantos. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hello.
And today we're here to talk about technology and not generically. We want to dig into technology and what it means to tax and accounting firms today and where you can go with the technology that's out there. We know that there's a lot of fear around technology, specifically AI, and we're here to tell you there's no reason to be fearful. Listen to this podcast because our goal is to move you past the fear and into a place of confidence with using technology to continue down the road of prosperity through 2026 and beyond. Is that a fair statement, Deneen?
Let's talk about it. Yep, I
Yeah.
like it.
Well, and I think this whole conversation was spurred by the quote that you gave me from the AICPA, Deneen. So why don't we start there?
Yep. So in a recent town hall, Mark Koziel said that he had a tax accountant that told him that he delivered the tax return to his client. The client put it in AI, and then AI found some errors. And so then he called the tax accountant and said, there's some errors in my tax return. And so I think, business owners are savvy and they're using the tools, right, to check things. And so then Mark said, the question is, why wasn't the tax accountant using AI to check the work to see if they could find errors before they sent it out? And so and it's happening. It can happen on both sides, though. It's a great tool that firms could be using too.
I mean, absolutely. And I just want to reiterate that's a scary statement from Mark, but let's move past the fear because we're just stating the facts. This is where we are. Business owners are tech savvy. They are going to put things in AI. So firms need to get ahead of that and have their own strategy in place for AI to run work through before it ever gets to the actual client, because this is just going to continue to happen. The good news is that there's great technology out there to overcome this issue that you don't have to be fearful of, because so many vendors are making it so easy and
Yeah.
so straightforward. We get AI is still scary to a lot of firms, but it's possible. It's
Yeah.
possible
And
to move past it.
I think that, you know, we said there's so many things that I think in this space, but the technology is coming at firms fast and furiously. And it's
Yes.
a very crowded space. Everyone is saying AI. Firms are overwhelmed. They don't know where to start. And
Yes.
they don't want to also rip and replace the tools they've already used that are tried and true and have been around for a long time, which we agree with. But I think keeping your pulse on what is coming, and then also your current tech stack is infusing AI into the tech stack. So you can just really know what is available to you. And I heard Thomson Reuters, AI was an option this tax season. You had to pay more. You had to pay more for it. And I talked to my friend here in Florida who did not use AI for tax returns this year, but it was an option. And she said she's just scared, and so she didn't use it. She's old school, and she wanted to do it all manually. And I'm like, next year, I wonder if she doesn't have to pay more. I bet you it's going to be embedded in the TR product. And so I think it's all coming. All this new stuff is coming fast and furiously, but also make sure you're up to speed on what your current tech stack is doing and embracing that.
Yeah.
I even saw something too just this last week about the IRS still cutting jobs because they have so many AI agents within their own products too, and that it detects the fraud and the errors and all of those things. So, I mean, so now it's just how do you shift and how do you shift that mindset? And I do think that a lot of people and a lot of clients are savvy, but also a lot of them aren't quite there yet. And so how can you just stay ahead of them?
Right.
They're just using it for the basic, the simple, the emails, the, communication aspects of it. So staying ahead of them, I think is really, really important. But also, like what we're saying is to embrace it, right? It's not going away. It's here. And so how do we make this something that's comfortable to some extent, and how are we embracing that? And I say this every single time, but it's how are you taking that and creating a deeper relationship with your client rather than it just being data.
Well, and I love that you said that too, because I cannot overstate the fact that you have to have the human involved in the formula with AI. The human is never removed. AI is meant to elevate humans, not eliminate them. It's meant to eliminate repetitive, crappy tasks that are billable that nobody wants to deal with, but it's not meant to eliminate the human. And I think that's a really important point to keep hitting home with
100%.
firms.
I think
Yeah.
the way I think about it is it's going to take the accountants into a place they're gonna love because
Hmm.
they're not gonna have to do the time-consuming mundane work, and they're gonna be freed up. The capacity for audit and tax is gonna be freed up to be able to talk to the customer, and the
Hmm.
customer wants to talk to their accountant. They want someone to talk to about their business. They want someone to give them advice about their business. Who are business owners talking to about their business? Maybe their spouse, right? But they trust their accountant with some of their deep, dark secrets. They don't want to tell people they're not successful. They don't want to tell people that they're losing money. But the accountant is the safe place that they want to talk to. And the technology is going to allow them to be freed up to really talk about the data, the business, the trends.
I think that the tech, we say, it is doing the work for you as far as putting all of the pretty dashboards and KPIs and reports together. But and I say this all the time, but it's like you can't just send those reports to the client. That's not meaningful. It is not meaningful unless it comes with that advisory, storytelling, communication, relationship aspect of it. And so that's where you shift. And so to Deneen's point, it's you don't have to spend the time putting that data together. You have the data. Now you need to shift to spend that time into setting up those meetings with the clients and getting in front of them because you have to get in front of them. You have to be front and center. You have to be face to face, whether that's in person or on a
Hmm.
Zoom call, whatever. It's just, it's an absolute necessity, I think, at this point.
Yeah. So let's go back to this fear factor that's embedded within the profession moving forward with AI. We know that confidence comes with familiarity, with practice, with basically just understanding from square one that this is something that's doable. Like, let's forget about the fear and let's look at the bright future that comes with leveraging AI and mastering it, at least to a degree. Um, I think the big issue is where people don't know where to start. Everyone's got a webinar or a booklet or an article or a lunch and learn. Everybody's talking about it pieces and parts, which is just the way it falls, right?
Right.
But I think the big thing for
The
firms, because the firms that I know and the firms I've always worked with do like to be led in the right direction. I've been told so many times, just lead me in the direction I should go. I need a little bit of hand holding. And when it comes to technology, that's always been true. So with everything out there, I mean, where do people start? Like, where do firms start?
Christine.
I think that's a good question, but it's a big question because I feel like that answer changes on a regular basis. And the hard part about that is every day there's a vendor that's coming out with something new and something different. And oh, we now solve for this and now we solve for that. So maybe, last month you needed 3 or 4 different products. And this month, maybe you just need 1 or 2. Like, and so that answer changes, but that's what we're trying to do within our community, within Infinite Ties, is also bring that collective experience and expertise of, yes, I've tried this, yes, I've done this, and this works really well. And so, and also bringing that vendor, um, just knowledge, expertise to the community too, to just say, here's what we're doing without feeling like you're being sold to, because we say this all the time, like firms are just kind of just inundated with tech. They're kind of
Hmm.
sick with the typical sales pitch, if that's fair to say. And so it's really just breaking that down is what we try to do is break that down and just make it simple and easy. But Deneen, I don't know. What do you think as far as that goes?
For to answer your question, I think what I would do is listen to what your clients are asking for. What are the clients asking for? Are they asking for help with sales and use tax? Are they asking for help with HR? Are they asking for help with cybersecurity? Are they asking for help with their data? right? They're
Mhm.
not asking to be audited and they're not asking necessarily for tax returns, but what is the client asking for? And then what makes you passionate? Because now is the time for these accountants to reimagine what their business can look like and what services they can provide, but they're in the perfect position to build this with the technology because of their experience, their knowledge base, and the relationships that they already have. And so when you want to think about, if AI is going to free me up from doing all the gathering and ticking and tying and all of the manual stuff that I can't charge a lot for anyway, if it's going to free me up, what do I love to do? And what are my clients asking for? And
Yeah.
start building that business, because the firms that are doing that are meeting the client demand, and there's a lot of client demand for accounting help. It's just going to look and feel different. The tech's going to be a little different, and the talent is going to be a little different. And so, put all of that aside and just say, like, what do I love to do, and what are my clients asking for, and start building towards that.
And I would say too, Deneen, the more you industry niche, right?
Totally.
The more you know the questions to ask, the more what they're saying and that you can just pinpoint and hone in on that. So I think as much as you can within a firm, going
Be a
down that
specialist. Yeah.
expertise and specialist is fares very well in this advisory space.
Yeah, but a really good point that I don't wanna run past is talking to your clients. So I've never been in a situation where talking more to the clients didn't benefit the service that I could provide because they know better than anybody what they need and what they want. So just basic communication would really be a good first step. Asking your clients what they're looking for, maybe getting a a finger on the pulse of what their expectations are, and then you won't have clients putting their tax return through AI and finding errors, which is really that is pretty scary.
Proactive standpoint too, right,
Yeah.
Christy? I mean, it's not
Yes.
that
Yes.
reactive. It's like, hey, we see this. It's close to year end. This is what we wanted to call you and offer this advice, and just that consultative aspect of it. I think from a proactive standpoint is like gold, absolute gold.
Well,
When
I mean,
if you
proactive's the name of the game, right? Like, you never want your client to come to you and ask for something first. For example, and I'm just pulling this out of the air, have a manufacturing client come and say, "Why didn't you tell me about the R&D credit? Like, there's a couple
Yeah.
$100,000 out there waiting for me." You never
Yeah.
want that to happen. You
Yeah.
wanna be
Right.
ahead of those things for your clients, the same way you wanna be ahead of technology. You don't want the client you wanna talk to your clients, you don't want them dictating what your internal processes or tech stack is. You want them to
can you
guide it, you don't want them to dictate it.
Exactly. Can you imagine, like, though, building this advisory practice where you're going to them without them having come to you and asked any question at all? And that sounds lovely to me too. I mean,
But I do
Yeah, it's
think, to
tough.
your point, Christy, that's where being a specialist really matters, because when you are specializing in a vertical like manufacturing, you're going to know the technology that's going to help you continue to be the expert and the advisor in that space. And so if it's R&D or sales and use techs, there's all these tech out there that you can use to help, set up the clients on all of the tech and then run it automatically so that you're helping them. They don't know the tech stack to use that's cutting
Yeah,
edge for their vertical. So the
right.
more you're a specialist, your tech stack's going to be different and will continue to have use new tools that, manufacturing companies need that maybe not for profits don't.
Right. Right. I mean, the more you get into vertical specialization, the easier it does become because let's take construction for an example. There's so many different nuances within that vertical. You master that vertical, you corner that market. And the tech stack relatively stays the same. You're going to upgrade as time goes by. But yeah, I'm just like cheering on that point because we've been talking about niche marketing forever for
Yeah.
firms, right?
We've been talking
Forever.
about niche marketing. We've been talking about AI. I mean, all these things that we've been talking about is now happening. It's here, it's happening. And that's why I think there's a lot of like, holy cow. Like it's what do I do now? I don't know what to do. And so we've been talking about it, but now they're feeling it.
Right.
And so, we want to say, don't be scared, because I think it's a wonderful opportunity to redefine yourself. I think it's gonna take us into a place that accountants are gonna love, because at the end of the day, they love not only numbers, but I think they really like the customer. Right? They really like the business owner. They want to help. They came into this because they want to help the business owner. And these are tools that are going to allow them to help business owners in a whole new, really important way that I believe is going to be really profitable for firms.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I like the fact that you brought up that the realization is happening now, because when you start to realize that this major trend is right on your heels, that is when the fear kicks in. And
Right.
so, what I will say to people is feel your feelings.
Yeah.
Feel the fear. It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay to be overwhelmed with that, but just know that that is a passing moment and there are answers out there for you. So I did want to hit on one more point that you made, Deneen, and it's about we are at this crossroads of realization where AI and technology, this trend is really nipping at the heels. And with realization comes fear. And what I want to say to firms is feel your feelings. It's okay. It's okay to be scared of change and something big. And it's okay to be scared of something you don't understand. But move past that fear, have your feelings, move past it. And then you have to move in a direction of the resource that you need to start to make that first step. And this is not a sales pitch, Christine, but you mentioned infinite ties. And I know from Rootworks, a community like that is so very important because you're not only getting the expertise of the people that are running it. I mean, Deneen, Christine, you guys are cast experts. You're vetting all this technology, but you also have the peer-to-peer support. So you've got other firms who are telling you, this is what I tried, this is my strategy, this is what failed, this is where I won. You've got to move towards something like that to start to get those answers. So, Deneen, I'm going to throw it over to you because you guys did just come out with the Fancast kit. And I think it ties into this discussion. I think will be helpful for people to hear a little bit more about.
Yeah. Yeah, and so thank you, because, Christine and our other co-founder, Michelle, were early adopters of CAS, and they made a lot of mistakes along with,
Yeah.
over 15 years have been building CAS practice. They made a lot of mistakes. They used a lot of technology. They've um, perfected it. And so we were thinking, like, because the way technology is automating the tax return, tax practitioners are going to be freed up to be advisory. And tax and CAS go hand in hand. And so a lot of these tax practitioners are like, how do we get into CAS? We need to get into advisory. And so we really have been feeling like the time is now. So let's help them. And let's come
Yes.
out with this we're calling it the Fancast kit. It's a kit that has tools and videos and documents that is a step by step of how to get started and what to think about. We're not saying it's easy. We know there's a mindset shift from going tax into accounting, but it is doable, and we have the tools. So let's
Right.
repackage, put together this kit that makes it easy for people to get started, and they can go step by step. They are going to have to invest the time, but we're giving them the tools, the things to think about, the tech to think about, the people to hire. So there is a process to kind of getting there faster.
Yeah. Yes, and it comes so much faster when you have a guided path to walk down, which is what the kit is. And I want to be really clear. You call it a kit. To me sometimes, and some people might think a kit sounds like it's just self-contained. This is an actual
Way more.
program
Yeah.
with guided videos and documents. I mean, job descriptions, templates, all the stuff that you guys know you need to run a successful cast practice because you both done it and you've both been teaching other firms to do this for so long.
Well, and Christine has really, I mean, Christine, you should speak to this, because she's the one that did this all on her own. And she didn't really have a lot of help. And so,
Michelle, that's it.
they did it
You and
all on their
Michelle.
own.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
I
you
know.
and
Yeah.
Michelle. Yeah. And then their firm got acquired by a larger firm. And then they are now running this very big CAS practice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So kind of like wishing that they had a community like Infinite Ties and a process like the Fancast kit. But I think, Christine, you can, no one can speak better to than you. You're just really passionate about bringing this to the
Yeah.
profession to help. Yeah.
It's always an island, right? We talk about the island all the time, and it was always an island, but also we didn't have anything to follow, and a part of that is, this whole s mindset shift of, you know, me growing up in a public accounting firm for the last 30 years, right? It's the tax and audit way. And so when it's the tax and audit way, that's all you know how to build from. And CAS is such a different model and beast, and the way that you build that is so different, and the risk is so different, and everything that you do with it is so different. So even using, the internal resources that we had, it just didn't land. It wasn't didn't resonate for what we were building, and so it was a constant Michelle and I constantly starting from scratch. And like I said, every mistake that we made, which we made a lot of mistakes, felt like it took a year or 2 to reverse that mistake because you're so far down that path, and you have to undo all of that and recreate it and then deploy, what you think works, and then that didn't work, and let's try it again. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
yeah, and so just taking all of that learning and failures and trying to
Mhm.
build what we built. But also, again, too, when we are looking and talking to a lot of firms, and a lot of best practices, it's just understanding that mindset and shift before you even start that. And that's really where we're starting with the kit too.
How many times
Well,
back then did you and Michelle ask, like, "Oh my gosh, what's out there that can help
there was
us?" 'Cause there
nothing.
was
Like,
nothing, right? Like,
there
nothing.
was nothing, and it was before, like, I mean, we age ourselves all the time, but it was before, like, all of
Whatever.
the online, even software vendors. This was very manual, very archaic. I mean, you had the systems, but they were all, desktop systems. They weren't really cloud-based, and so, it's been fun. It's been fun to evolve with that, but it is such a mindset shift, and so unless you start with that and you know that, it's really hard to build.
Yeah, so can we talk about mindset shift for a little bit because it is really the first step, is moving past that fear and then changing the mindset of what it takes to build a cast firm, what it means to have a successful cast practice. I imagine that's one of the first steps in the Fancast kit, right? I mean, at least you talk about the mindset shift.
I mean, first you have to start with what is CAS, because you
Mm,
could
yeah.
ask this tax partner and they'll tell you something, and this audit partner and they'll tell you something, and this accountant they'll tell you something. And so defining it is where we actually start in the kit. Is we call it client advisory services, because I think that with the mindset, it's still that either after the fact work or that bookkeeping work that nobody really wants to do, and that's not profitable, and that's not like the meaningful work. And that is not what CAS is. And so that's really like getting them in the understanding of that again, the technology automates the manual stuff so that you can talk to the business owners about the trends that you're seeing in their data. And so it's like shifting to, this isn't the work, this is the work we don't want to do. It's not meaningful work. We're going to give that bookkeeping work away. That's not that's not why we became accountants and CPAs. To now, like, what is a client asking for? They want to talk to you about their bill pay and their payroll and their expenses, and what manufacturing equipment they have to buy, and if these are the conversations they want to have. And that the technology allows you to have these conversations in a very meaningful way. And so it's more of like, that's that mindset shift. If it is exciting work, it is the type of things that business owners want to talk to you about. That's where I think the mindset needs to really start. Is we don't want to do that. To now,
Yeah.
like, oh, this is really cool. Yeah.
Well, and what you said goes back to what we said before about the importance of talking to your clients. Talk to your clients and ask them what they want. And that should instill some confidence in you that, oh, I am going down the right path. They do want trusted advisory work. This is
Yep.
something that I can sell. This is of great value because it is of great value. And let's be frank about this. A lot of firms have been offering CAS services for a long time. They've just been giving it away for free. Those
Right.
quick questions, those quick
That's right.
calls, that quick little can we meet and go over this data? It's been happening for a while. It's just now we're able to actually apply value to that and say what it is, which
Right.
it's CAS.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in our cast, it's client advisory services. It started off as client
Correct.
accounting services, then it moved to client accounting and advisory services. But what we're talking about is client advisory services.
Correct.
And so defining it again is kind of where is really important. And then make sure that within your practice, everybody's aligned. That this is how we're defining it, and that this is the work that we're starting to do, and we're excited to do, and let's start talking to our clients about working with them in this new way, and listen to how they respond. I think there's trepidation to go to your current client base and say, "We've never talked to you this way before, and now we're trying to," and it's okay. You can say, we have all this new technology that's allowing us to do all these new things, and we think your business is ready. You've been asking us these questions. You're showing us signs that you do want to work with us in these new ways. So I don't think you need to be trepidatious. It's just defining it a new way, deciding that you want to do it, looking for the tools that can help you learn from others that have paved the path, and then start having those conversations with your customer about
And I
all
will
the
say being cautious and a little anxious about talking to clients. I think all business owners feel that way. I think initially we think, "Oh, we don't wanna bug them," but the fact is they wanna hear from us. They wanna see that we have interest in what they need and what their wants are, and counting is a relationship-based profession. You know, firm owners, staff, they wanna talk to clients, clients wanna talk to you. Just move forward and have that conversation. I think so many people, after they have the first couple of conversations, will just completely relax and see that it's so easy and it comes so naturally to them because 'cause they've been doing it forever. You've
Well,
been
they know
talking
the
to your clients
client.
forever.
They know the client. They know the information. They know the client's
Exactly.
information better than anybody. I think that needs
Yep.
to be our next session is though pricing because this goes hands in hand with you can't
Yeah.
charge by the hour. Because
Right.
clients don't you've been telling your clients, "Don't call me or I'm gonna charge you for my time," and so they're not calling you. So you have to change the way that you price as well to have the clients call you with anything new that happens with their business. You wanna encourage that conversation, and so
Correct.
the whole next thing we need to get into is probably pricing.
I would also just add, though, too, that I think people fear the advisory space a little bit just because they think that they have to have all the answers. And that's absolutely not true. It's that, just the conversation and asking the questions and listening and knowing how to say, okay, you know what, there are a couple things I just want to check on, make sure, we're in compliance and following X guidelines or whatever. So you don't have to fear not knowing every single answer to every question either.
Well, and also, again, just remembering that you have been doing this for years already. You have been doing advisory whether you know it or not. It's just now you're applying the value to it and hopefully the value pricing to it as well.
Yeah. And
So,
I think the other thing, Christine, that you made me think of when you said that is they also fear that they're going to give bad business advice. And then who's at risk? Are they at risk if a business owner does something and then it's going to come back on the firm? And so there are ways, and a lot of this is in the kit, in the Fancast kit. There's a lot of ways to talk about the information that lets the owner decide what they want to do with this information. But going, Christy, to what you said about being an expert, and I know I'm going to botch this story, but I was at a conference and this guy said, he was a specialist in, I think, like farming. And he had like 20 farming clients. And this one farming client called him and said, I need to buy this very expensive piece of equipment and I can't afford it. And he's like, oh, I was just talking to five other of my farming clients about this big farming resale expo. And it's next week in this place. Go check it out and see if you can find an affordable one there. And this business owner was ecstatic. He's like, I knew nothing about this expo. And because you told me this information that your other farmers told me about, I was able
mhm,
to get the equipment I needed at 50%, the half off of what I thought I was going to have to spend. And so that's where I think you're saying, Christy, is you've been in this space for a long time. You know so much because you're talking to your clients about so much. And, what we help you figure out is how do you charge for that expertise? How do you charge for that knowledge? Because that's priceless.
Yeah, I love that example. It hits home our point about niche marketing, for one thing, right? And talk about going above and beyond expectations. What client is going to think you're going to know about an expo where they can get a cheaper deal? Like, but that comes with the territory of being an expert in a vertical. It's amazing. Okay. We started this conversation talking about technology, how it's changing, the need to like get on board with AI and really move past the fear. And hopefully we've alleviated some fear around that and given people a really good next step, which would be check out Infinite Ties. I mean, it is in the Fancastic. Again, this is not a sales pitch. We're all so passionate about moving the profession forward. And these tools were built for that reason. So check it out. Deneen, Christine, any final words of wisdom?
I like ending with that. Thank you.
It's good, right?
Yeah,
It's
we're
good. Well,
passionate
cool.
about helping. I mean, we're just looking at like what do we already have and how do we put it together in a really useful way for people because we do see that the time is now. And so we want to help.
We do. We always want to help. The goal is always to move the profession forward, even if that is one firm at a time. So let's wrap this conversation. It was a good one, really amazing. I think it'll resonate with a lot of people. Come back again for more Cast Gold. That's our promise to you. And this is fantastic.